By this point in time, if you're subscribed to the channel, you should know that I'm one of the biggest Dragon Quest fans in North America, and perhaps the entire world. This is a guy who easily drops $1,000 whenever a new mainline entry in the series is released. This is also the same guy who invests literally hundreds of hours into every single new Dragon Quest game that comes out and imports the entire series because he knows there's almost no chance we will ever get every game in the series in North America. I can't express how much of a fan of this series I am, and part of my mission here on the channel is to slowly introduce more and more of you to this legendary franchise. So while I've completed Dragon Quest Builders quite some time ago, I thought now would be an appropriate time for the review, as Dragon Quest Builders 2 is almost upon us. Well, at least in Japan. There still isn't any official word when we can expect Dragon Quest Builders outside Japan, but I'm hoping it won't be too long after the Japanese release. So, like I said, today we're going to be taking a look at Dragon Quest Builders, which was originally released on the PlayStation 4, Vita, and there was even a PlayStation 3 release in Japan. This particular version is for the Nintendo Switch. All versions are quite close regarding content and performance, with more powerful systems clearly running the game a little bit better. This Switch version runs the game superbly well, and even decreased the difficulty of the game's challenges, which I really enjoyed. The other versions of the game had these silly time limit challenges, and now you can just take your time with the game, enjoying it to its fullest. And I think this was a wonderful change in my opinion. And you may be wondering what this game is all about, and the answer is rather simple. Imagine if the hero from Dragon Quest I took the Dragon Lord's offer at the end of the game, and the world was plunged into darkness. You take on the role of the Builder, whose job is to restore light to the world and rebuild it in whatever image you have in mind. You're not a hero though, so you're not expected to stop the Dragon Lord. You're just expected to rebuild the world and then wait for the true hero to arrive. The game is broken up into several chapters, each lasting about a dozen hours or so, depending on your investment and dedication to creation. One of the somewhat annoying features of the game is that as you move from one chapter to the next, you lose absolutely all of your crafting materials and start from scratch. Now, this was done to highlight the unique nature of each of the regions. Some regions are in the desert, others feature poisonous swamps, and so on. And different materials allow you to craft different objects, so I understand why they did this, although personally I would have really preferred if you were able to carry over at least some of your items from the previous chapter. As such, exploration is only somewhat worthwhile since all your power-ups, health upgrades, weapons and armor, and everything else resets. It's not really worthwhile to waste too much time exploring because you know you're going to be moving on and leaving it all behind. The final boss of each chapter can also decimate your home base, meaning it's always worthwhile to spend a little bit of time reinforcing your base, but not too much time. I found that the only chapters where I really invested a sizable amount of time to reinforcing my base were the first and last chapters. That's me though. You might feel the need to do it on every single chapter, and power to you if you decide to do so. One of the biggest complaints I've heard about Dragon Quest Builders is that it isn't truly a direct Minecraft clone that some were hoping for. In other words, your freedom of creation is somewhat limited. While true for the first 4 chapters of the game, the developers actually meant for this game to act as a giant 40+ hour tutorial of sorts. Upon completing each of the game's 4 chapters, you unlock a new region in the open world area of the game. This area allows you to create whatever you want, play friends' creations, and much, much more. And I find not enough emphasis was really placed on this mode. I only dabbled with it post-credits, and I wish I had spent a lot more time with it, as it really is the Minecraft clone that people were hoping for. As for the rest of the game, each chapter is a self-contained story that features dozens upon dozens of quests, monster battles, and exploration. As your base or village improves, more and more villagers appear and offer ever-increasingly challenging quests. I absolutely loved the humor in the dialogue, the battles, and the building. The whole game was superbly well crafted, except for a few hiccups here and there, such as the rather small hitboxes. I found the weapons to be just a tad too short for most enemy encounters, thereby making me lose a few hit points because I ran into the enemy. This is improved upon once you learn longer sword recipes. However, as mentioned earlier, you're constantly reverting to your default status upon entering a new chapter, so the benefit really isn't there much. Overall, I found Dragon Quest Builders to be a wonderful addition to the Legacy franchise, and I do hope that Dragon Quest Builders 2 improves upon this formula by spicing up the gameplay ever so slightly. I also hope you can carry forward some of your gear. Now, we already know that the building aspect is being improved upon to allow more than 3 times the space compared to this first game, which is lovely. And the audio-visual presentation also looks to be slightly improved, although this game is no slouch. I personally think this is one of the best games available on the Switch because it's perfect to play in small doses. And like I said, the building aspect is great. You are slowly eased into the building with blueprints and things like that. And in free reign mode, you can build literally anything you can think of, and it's incredible. If you're a hardcore Dragon Quest fan, or if you're just looking for another Minecraft-like game, give this one a go, as I'm sure you will not be disappointed.